All right, now we're going to use special right triangles. This is another topic that you should have done back in geometry. I'm going to go through it like maybe you forgot all of it because I know it's been a while. But we're going to start with a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, you have a 30-degree angle, you have a 60-degree angle, and then of course you have a right 90-degree angle. Now, we call this side down here the short side. And to get from the hypotenuse to the short side, what you're going to do is you're going to divide by 2. So if this hypotenuse is 1, if I divide by 2, that's going to give me 1/2 for my short side. Now, to get from the short side to the long side, I know that's the long side because it's across from 60, I'm going to multiply by radical 3. And if these arrows went the opposite way, so if I went from the long side to the short side, I would divide by radical 3. If I went from the short side to the hypotenuse, I would multiply 2. So if I do 1/2 times radical 3, that's going to give me radical 3 over 2. I'm going to go ahead and draw another triangle here with just some directions on it. All right, so if you want to hit pause and write some of this down. So short leg times 2 is a hypotenuse. Short leg times radical 3 is the long leg. You're going to see that soon we're going to start using a lot of these same numbers, but there's the rules for that. Let's go on to 45, 45, 90 triangles. So in a 45, 45, 90 triangle, you have a right angle, and then you have two 45-degree angles. So this is actually an isosceles triangle here, where these legs are always going to be congruent. Now, again, I told you the hypotenuse is 1. To get from the hypotenuse to a leg, what you're going to do is you're going to divide by radical 2. So if I did 1 divided by radical 2, you can use your calculator to do this, but you would get radical 2 over 2. If that side is radical 2 over 2, then the other leg is radical 2 over 2. If you want to go from a leg to the hypotenuse, you would multiply by radical 2. So I was able to show both of them on this same triangle. So these are always the same. And then you either divide or multiply by radical 2 to get a missing hypotenuse or leg. Let's try some of these. All right, so I'm going to show you 2 different methods for this. In the pink, I'm going to do the special right triangles rule. And in blue, I'm going to just do SOHCAHTOA or trig. So you can do these either way. So I'm going to start with the trig, the SOHCAHTOA, and what I'm going to look at is that I have a 30-degree angle here. That's the angle that they want us to refer to. 8 is my hypotenuse, and x is the adjacent side. Since I'm using adjacent and hypotenuse, I'm going to use cosine because that uses adjacent and hypotenuse. So cosine of the angle 30 is equal to the adjacent side, which was x, over the hypotenuse, which was 8. To solve this, I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. I'm going to type in cosine 30 to see what that gives me on my calculator. And that tells me it's radical 3 over 2, which maybe that number looks familiar from what we just did. And then that's going to equal x. So these 8's canceled out. Now I've got 8 radical 3 over 2 when I multiply that together. And then 8 over 2 simplifies to 4 radical 3. All right, now I'm going to do the same problem, but I'm going to do the special triangle rule. Since this is a 30-degree triangle, I know that there's my hypotenuse, this is my short leg, this right here is my long leg. So to get from the hypotenuse to the short leg, I need to divide by 2. So 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. And then to get from the short side to the long side, I multiply by radical 3. So 4 times radical 3 is going to tell me what x is, and that's just 4 radical 3. Same answers, just different methods of doing it. And I don't care which way you want to do these. Let's try another one. Again, I'm going to start with the trig, and I notice I have a 45-degree angle. This x would be opposite, and the 5 would be the hypotenuse. So if I look at my trig, sine uses opposite and hypotenuse. So I'm going to do sine of 45 is equal to the opposite side, which is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 5. I'm going to multiply both sides by 5 to get x by itself. And now I have 5 times, I need to figure out what sine 45 is. So I'll get my calculator out again. Sine 45 is radical 2 over 2. So when I multiply this all together, I get 5 radical 2 over 2. All right, let's try this now with our special right triangles. This is a 45-degree angle. These legs are the same, and then that's my hypotenuse. To get from the hypotenuse to a leg, you need to divide by radical 2. So what I'm really going to do here is I'm going to do 5 divided by radical 2 to figure out what x is. Remember, you can't have a radical in the denominator. So when you rationalize and multiply the top and the bottom by radical 2, you get 5 radical 2 over 2 is x. Same thing.